All right, I'm joined by my boy, my dude, Nick. Nick, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good.
Good,
Can
good,
you hear
good.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. We're talking about, and I just want to get your input, man. I only have you for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to throw it your way, and I want you to give me some commentary and some of your observations about this poll with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and this new. I want to call it a revelation for the Hillary Clinton supporters, but for everyone else, we already knew this. This is a federal investigation, and she is the only candidate that I know of in my lifetime who has gotten this far under federal investigation. What are your thoughts on those two stories?
I think it's particularly telling because I was speaking with a Hillary Clinton supporter, and what they told me was that I was a liar.
Yeah,
Like when Rosario Dawson pointed out that she was under investigation, they called her a liar. And they're like, why does Bernie Sanders have people lying on her behalf? And then
exactly.
when I pointed out that there is an investigation and she is the subject of said investigation,
Hmm.
I'm like, well, where's the lie? And they're
Yeah,
like, well, it's not a real investigation. I was like, well, whether what you think about the actual investigation itself, what the outcome will be, doesn't change the fact that there is an investigation. And for there to be one, there's something that went on there that's questionable at best that the
yeah.
FBI feels they have to investigate something, right? Because remember, at first they actually did say they were just following precaution to look into what actually happened, and then somehow it turned into a full investigation. It wasn't actually an investigation at first. It turned into one after they started looking into the actual details of what they believe may or may not have happened. They haven't released those details, so I won't speculate on that, but it is real and it is here. And I think at this point, like you said, the ideology not being logical,
Hmm.
people aren't just willing to look at the truth and just accept it.
Yeah, let
I
me
think
read
this
this.
whole election.
Let me read
Go
this
ahead.
comment from our chat room. Robo Tomorrow said there's not only an FBI investigation, there's also the Judicial Watch case, which is covering similar ground but entirely separate. The Judicial Watch case is more focused on the why of the private server. The suspicion is that it was set up to avoid Freedom of Information Act requests. And I mean, this has been a pretty standard criticism all along, is that the only purpose that Hillary Clinton could actually get out of a private server like she had was the ability to circumvent Freedom of Information Act requests. What do you think about that? And I love what you're saying in terms of the fact that people just dismiss it as lies. I mean, this is tangible, objective reality, and they can't take it. Go for it.
I think in particular this is really really tough. Like I'm learning something about human nature. We
Yeah.
should all be learning something about human nature, and that people have a tendency to become very very good at not seeing things just because they don't want to see it. It
Right.
could be right in front of their face, and they just will not see it,
Yep.
no matter how you throw it in their face, no matter how many times it just doesn't really hit home like it really should. It's like they're hearing it, but they're not acknowledging and absorbing it. It's like it goes in one ear and goes out the other, or they're just covering their ears and saying la 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 la. I don't hear
I,
this.
I think that's what it is, man. People are literally saying la 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 la. I don't want to hear this. This is not the truth. It's almost like the scene out of the Wizard of Oz. It's like they're getting water thrown on them, and they're the witch, and they start melting when they hear the truth. And this is something that we point out ad nauseum about conservatives. We every single day when there's not a primary and Democrats and liberals are relatively united, and I say relatively purposefully, but on any average day that's not a primary, we are pointing out how conservatives do and exhibit this exact same behavior, right? The way they will ignore objective facts. It is a fact that she's under investigation. It is a fact that Donald Trump is closing on her in the polls. And instead of accepting that and doing what Hillary Clinton is doing, which is adjusting course, starting to run more ads, she is being responsive to this fact. Her supporters would rather dismiss the source, dismiss the science, and here we are criticizing Republicans for doing the same exact damn thing. What do you think, man?
It's almost like kind of like an arrogance. I think I was trying to explain to someone, what climate change really was or how it really worked.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, the world is so big, the human beings just can't understand it. I'm like, no, 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 no. There's people who have dedicated their lives to this and have, advanced degrees, and there's a scientific consensus around the world
Right.
from multiple reputable nonprofit organizations that climate change is real.
Right.
But to that individual person, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all just made up, because it's easier to believe that it's all made up than we are facing something that is a
Cataclysmic.
threat beyond what we have faced before, and we need to
Right.
do something about it, and we're not doing something. That reality is so far out there that they don't want to acknowledge that and face it
And
and
it
do what they should be
and
doing.
it hurts them, right? There's a physical. I was reading one paper, and I'm just drawing on it right now from recall. I don't remember the author, and some you could Google it and somebody could find it. But there's an actual actual response, a physical repugnance that comes with accepting political information that goes against what you believe or against your political ideology. It causes you actual grief. And so people want to reject it because they don't want to have to absorb something that is painful and calculate that into their person or into their calculus. And so they would rather turn their head away and not believe the tangible facts, the objective reality around them, because it's too painful for them to do so. And while we've been sitting back criticizing conservatives for exhibiting this type of behavior, all along this was laying dormant, or at least there was nothing that we could expose it with on the progressive side of the spectrum. And here we are, lo and behold, now we have a whole swath. And to be fair, to be honestly fair, there's some things about Bernie Sanders supporters that cross this same intersection. It is a part of human nature that I think can get the best of any of us if we're not careful. And if we put the desire to win above the desire to be true, I think that's the delineating factor. What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, I would say there's two types of people. If something horrible is in front of you, you have two choices. You can either face it, if the truth is horrible, you can face it, or you can try to hide from it. But that doesn't mean it's going to go away. And I've seen this, this kind of behavior happens all the time. See, I've even done it, something so horrible, I just don't want to face it. Oh
Yeah.
man, it can't be that bad. And it's just like, well, no, it really is that bad. And as an adult,
Yeah.
you need to grow up and face the truth and be able to handle it.
But Nick, here's
That's
the thing.
almost like a childlike response.
It is, but here's the thing. All we're talking about is politics, right? We're not talking about your individual life other than the way politics affects your individual life, right? We're not talking
See, I'm
whether or not
that.
Hillary Clinton's polls are, whether or not Donald Trump is closing the gap on Hillary Clinton does not directly affect someone's life today such that they have to reject it, versus something like you lost somebody in your family and you don't want to face that reality. Those are two totally different realities in the sense of how it affects your life. But here we are using the same exact coping mechanism. I know we're getting a little into the weeds here of human psychology, and neither one of us are psychologists, but it's that same type of behavior where people want to reject something because it's painful.